Hello, I'm Annabel Church and I'm the YRP Wales Vice Chair. Welcome to the YRP Wales Sustainability in Wales webinar. YRP, or Young Rail Professionals, aims to promote the rail industry as a great place to work, inspire the next generation of railway talent, and develop young people to reach their potential. We're a not-for-profit organisation led by committees of volunteers. This week is Rail Week, a week-long initiative which promotes the rail industry as a great place to work and showcases the diversity of roles and people within it. Some of the YRP events happen this week. Tomorrow we have the YRP London and South East webinar, Safety on the Rails, and we also have the YRP tour of Euston Station construction works. Friday we have the YRP West Midlands Rail Week Regional Social in Birmingham. The next YRP Wales event is an in-person event on the 15th of October, and it's our Welcome to Wales Social in Cardiff. You can sign up for these and all future events on our website at www.youngrailroad.com, and we look forward to seeing you at some of these future events. So moving on to today's webinar, we're joined by Natalie Rees and Dr. Louise Moon from Transport for Wales. Natalie is a sustainable development professional with over 18 years experience cross-sector in Wales. Natalie is the Sustainable Development Manager at Transport for Wales, where her role is to embed the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act into the work that Transport for Wales does. Natalie also manages the Heritage, Ecology and Climate Change teams. We also have Dr. Louise Moon, who's an experienced project manager with a demonstrable history of working in non-profit organisation, management, land use, heritage, community engagement and sustainability. Louise is skilled in project and partnership working and delivering strategy. So I'll hand over to Natalie and Louise for the presentation, and there'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end.
Hello, thank you very much for having us. Really pleased to be here today to talk to you a bit about the work that we do in Transport for Wales to embed sustainability into the organisation. So as Annabel said, my role is Sustainable Development Manager, and I am working to embed the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act into the work that Transport for Wales does. Now, the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act is a piece of legislation that's specific to Wales, and it is a framework for sustainable development. It contains 7 high-level goals and 5 ways of working that enables bodies or public bodies in Wales to work in a sustainable way. Transport for Wales is not a named body in the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, as we're a relatively new organisation, just 3 years old. But we, under Welsh Minister's duties, we have taken on responsibility to work in the same way as other public bodies. Sustainable development is a challenging area to work in. It covers loads of topics and touches on everything that we do, from recycling cups and surveying bats and making sure our menus are recyclable, to advising on climate risk and writing long-term plans to help us decarbonise by 2030. You'll see from my presentation that it really does cover a huge range of topics. It's a really exciting area to work in. Over the past 20 years that I've been in the industry, there's been a huge change in the mindset towards sustainability, from it being very much an environmental area to work in the early days, to it now covering social and cultural and economic factors as well. It's really highly regarded area in Wales now. People are taking it very seriously in line with their responsibilities under the Act. And it's really great that the organisation I now work for takes sustainability really seriously, and it's embedded into our organisation. So in 2019, we published our first Sustainable Development Plan. It's built around the framework of the Act, so we report against the 7 goals. The plan is a long-term plan, and it was built around ensuring that we were hitting all the areas of sustainability. And I'll show you our presentation, which follows those 7 ways of working and our aims and ambitions under those. So the first goal in the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, they're in no particular order. They don't have any sort of significance over each other. They're all to be treated equally. But a prosperous Wales. So under a prosperous Wales, we look to stimulate economic activity and promote a prosperous and innovative low carbon economy, which provides high quality employment for our team members and our supply chain. We conserve natural resources and improve the quality of the environment in which we operate by promoting sustainable consumption, reducing waste and driving continual improvement. So these are some of the actions that we've taken over the past year and beyond. The first one is that we've, in the last year, or between April and March 2021, we spent 84% of our spend on materials from Wales-based businesses. And this is really important. The public sector in Wales buys a huge amount of materials, and enabling our supply chain to stay local has a huge impact on smaller businesses. We held 4 supply chain platform events locally to enable us to work closer with local businesses. This enabled us to purchase thousands of litres of hand sanitizer from Hensall Castle, where they were previously making gin before the pandemic struck. Their quick turnaround of their product enabled us to work with them to ensure that a local product could be used within our service. We offered 5 graduate roles as part of our graduate scheme. And during National Apprenticeship Week in February, we launched our new apprenticeship academy that's called Funny. We also moved into our new headquarters at Llys Cadwyn in Pontypridd over the past year. The office is a BREEAM exemplar building. It has a huge solar array on the roof and water harvesting system. We have 2 EV charging points and 60 spaces for bikes. We also have 4 EV bike charging units and 11 showers to enable staff to travel actively to work. Oops, sorry, just try and move my slide on. There you go. So as part of our commitment to sustainability, we wanted to take a new approach to the fit out of our office. The office furniture that we've used in our building is majority second hand. We worked with organisations WRAP, the Waste Resource Action Programme, and Ripe Office to source recycled and locally sourced furniture, as well as reusing our own furniture. By doing this, we ensured that 30% of the furniture in the office is reused from our previous premises. 49% of it was remanufactured or second hand, and we had furniture from places such as Facebook and Amazon. 3% of the furniture was made locally by a social enterprise called Merthyr Institute for the Blind. And only 6% of the furniture was sourced outside of Wales. By doing this, we saved 90,000 kilograms of carbon. We also saved another 2,500 kilograms of carbon by using recycled paint. Now, recycled paint is the paint that you'd take to your civic amenity centre when you've finished painting your room. It's stripped of colour and then it can be dyed to whichever colourway you want to use. That's also delivered by the same social enterprise, Merthyr Institute for the Blind. So that's an example of one of our really sustainable projects. We have 2 unique items in the building, a coffee table made from chopping boards and bin bags, and 100% recycled sofa, which is the most sustainable sofa in the world at the moment. Under a resilient Wales, we're working to strengthen the resilience and adaptation to the changing climate and extreme weather events, and manage environmental risk by monitoring, reviewing, and where appropriate, changing our actions. We're reducing the degradation of natural habitats, natural resources, and protecting and enhancing local biodiversity. So we've been using solar-powered CCTV cameras and solar-powered lighting at our Taffs Wells site. Solar-powered generators are less noisy, they produce no emissions, and they have less trailing wires. This means the sites are safer for staff to work at, where they're not breathing in dangerous particulates and where they're not working in an extremely noisy environment. It's also much more friendly for our line-side neighbours. In May 2015, we took 15 Pacer trains out of service. 11 of these trains were recycled for use as community facilities, such as libraries or community spaces. During the construction phase of Taffs Well Metro, our partner Alan Griffiths has been reusing materials from ground remediation. This has enabled us to increase our recycling target quite significantly. They've also been supporting us to help deliver allotments to local communities. In support of our 2023 plastic-free target, we switched our containers on the Mark IV trains to compostable and biodegradable packaging. Our 2023 plastic-free target is in line with other similar-sized organisations. And over the past year, we certified all of our stations to level 2 of Green Dragon, our head offices to level 3, and our train maintenance depots to level 5. The Green Dragon Environmental Standard is a Welsh standard. It's equivalent at level 5 to ISO 14001, but it's run in Wales by an environmental charity called Groundwork Wales. And so we can ensure that the money that we pay them is going back into helping the social enterprise to operate. Again, under Resilient Wales, we've been working with Constructing Excellence Wales, and we were recognised as exemplars by them for our projects of Bow Street and Taftswell. And we're currently working with Swarco UK to install 21 electric vehicle rapid charge points in 4 rural locations across Wales. This is part of our work on the All Wales EV fast charging network. We launched our Biodiversity Action Plan, which sets out our vision of how we will protect, maintain and enhance our biodiversity and ecosystems within our operations and land assets. And we've also installed sustainable urban drainage systems to prevent flooding at Bow Street Station in Ceredigion. This system is a large green space, which has improved the look of the local area as well. We've been awarded £100,000 from the National Lottery Heritage Fund and Welsh Government to enhance local biodiversity at and near our stations, including local allotments. And I'd like now to introduce Dr. Louise Moon, who's going to tell you a bit more about herself and her role and about the project.
Thanks, Natalie, and hi to everyone on the call. I'm Project Manager for Sustainability at Transport for Wales and work in Natalie's team. And one of the projects that I'm currently leading on is the National Lottery Heritage Fund project, which comes under their Local Places for Nature scheme, which is funded by the Welsh Government. So we have kind of two organisations there looking over this project and looking at the work that we are doing. The really key thing to this project is that it aims to enhance local biodiversity at stations and in station neighbourhoods. So this is all about finding those green routes and really joining up what are often quite fragmented urban habitats and joining them together. But crucially, it's also about bringing in the community to create a sense of ownership, and not only to do that, but also for them to be kind of our biodiversity sort of army on the ground and helping us looking after the features that we're putting in. So as part of this project, we're also doing a lot of work in the community and to support the Community Rail Initiative with the development of the station adoption programme. So we're recruiting more volunteers, we're offering upskilling opportunities, as well as opportunities to promote the importance of biodiversity and just generally raise knowledge and awareness of this kind of work. But also that stations aren't kind of no-go areas when it comes to biodiversity. There's often an assumption that because they are places of transport and the sort of the safety first approach, that green things can't be done in and around stations. And what we're really showing with this project is that they can be done. And however small, that's still making a big difference to biodiversity, as well as promoting opportunities for communities to become involved in that and to become involved in looking after our transport network. So we were given the funding for the project back in December last year. And I think it would be fair to say that we have experienced some barriers with delivering this project, but actually that's been a kind of blessing in disguise, because we've been able to establish new processes, find new and better ways of working, and that's only going to be a good thing for delivering projects like this in the future, and also for creating sustainability and resilience within our own organisation. So the project is due to be completed in May next year. So please do keep a lookout across Wales. There'll be 22 stations where these green features will be going in, and hopefully it will be at a station near you. And I think we can just pop on to the next slide. So this is just an example of some of the station greening work that we're doing. And we're particularly looking at focusing on using the sort of disused areas of green space, for example, at stations like Allotments or Pontypridd, but also trying to work with the existing infrastructure that's already there. So at the junction, we're looking to put a fixed green wall panel onto the side of that building, which will really help to create a green route, both sort of within and across that station as well. And the next slide, please, Snap. So alongside delivering green features at stations, the other key element to this project is about working with the community. And we are working in partnership with 5 community partners, which are listed on the slide, all of which have differing and varying types of green spaces. And through this project, we've been able to support them in putting in green features, so things like planters, wildlife boxes, bug hotels, as well as to help strengthen their volunteering initiatives in their community, and just kind of building that good neighbour approach that TFW has when it comes to community engagement. So myself and the project delivery team, we've been out on the ground with the community groups, kind of helping them put planters together and planting up, and lugging God knows how many bags of compost and soil back and forward. But it's a really great way to help us to get into the communities and build trust with them as well. Next slide, please, Snap. So Pontypridd is a really great example of station adoption work that we're doing, and in particular this is because staff at RHQ will be taking on that adoption role for this station. So it's a really great example of us not only supporting the station adoption programme, but by doing it ourselves to actually demonstrate that we take this seriously and that we too want to be part of looking after green features. Some of you may be aware of the community adoption programme more widely through community rail initiatives, but for those of you that aren't, the station adoption programme involves volunteers from the local community who come in and help the station manager and station staff to look after the stations. And that can be anything from looking after planters and green features if they're there, but they also provide monthly reports back to the community rail team about sort of issues from litter to graffiti or vandalism, and that can then help TFW target resources at that station and find ways to engage more widely with the community and try and tackle those issues, which again is about building sustainability and resilience within the community as well. So just to focus on some of our community projects that we've been delivering through the Green Roots project and the difference that it's making on the ground. One of those is the MBAR Foundation, which is based up in Flintshire. And they're a fantastic organisation that you can see in the picture that they sort of own that building and the land around. So that's been a great opportunity to help them develop their green space. Through the project, we've also supported them with employing a volunteer coordinator for all of their work. And so that's creating a real legacy for them. And that role will continue even when the funding has finished, because the MBAR Foundation are now in a position to take that role on themselves and to keep the green work going within the community. And then to switch to a different kind of community partner, we have the Cambrai Village Trust, which is based out near Pontypridd, and they primarily work with families and young people, delivering sporting opportunities as well as outdoor activities, and particularly also focusing on working with those that come from a disadvantaged background and individuals with disabilities. So you can see that again they've got a really fantastic open green space there. They've recently been renovating that as part of the project, and we've been able to support them with putting in community planting. So they've been growing everything from fruit to chilies to tomatoes, and the community have been able to benefit from that, and they've been able to involve the groups that use their hall and their facilities in that planting process. And then just as final contrast is the Bron fire allotments. And this one has been a really interesting one for us as part of the project, because they already had a lot of green features there and there's already a lot of really great work going on. But one of the things that they particularly focus on is adaptive planting, and helping those with impairments and disabilities to be involved in the process of looking after plants or producing food, and maintaining green spaces. So here, the help that we've been able to provide them, and we've worked together to put in place some more practical features, so particularly focused around things like rainwater harvesting, and strengthening the adaptive elements, and helping to create even more accessible planting areas for people, as well as a sensory garden that the community can use, which has been particularly beneficial to families and to younger people within the area. So they've been getting their toddler groups on board and things like that. So that's been really great to see. So I think that shows the kind of benefits and the wide range of benefits that green features and working in partnership can have through these kind of projects. And I'm really proud to be a part of it and to be leading the project. And we will be sharing all the sort of outcomes from this and case studies on this project. So please do keep a lookout for those when they come out as well. So I think I'll hand back to Nat now. So thank you.
Brilliant, thanks Louise. And it really does show how we're delivering across the 4 pillars of sustainability, those sort of heritage elements, the cultural elements, social, environmental, economic. It's really a good example of one of our projects that delivers on multiple goals. Skipping too far ahead. So under a healthier Wales, we're promoting a socially equal, inclusive, healthy and safe transport network for all of our team members, as well as our customers. And in response to the coronavirus pandemic and in support of Welsh Government messaging, we launched the Travel Safer campaign in April 2020, and that's still running currently. And as you may be aware, in Wales, masks are still mandatory on public transport to keep people safe. As part of our station improvement vision, we completed an active travel scheme in Llanelli with 16 new cycle hoops installed. We also worked with people in Abergavenny, station in Abergavenny, where we took out 5 old bike cages and we replaced those with 20 new ones, really trying to increase the active travel provision in Wales. It's a key part of our integrated infrastructure going forward. We really need more people out there walking and cycling on safe integrated transport networks. We've been working closely with Network Rail and the Vale of Glamorgan Council, and the first electric bike sharing scheme launched in Penarth train station with Next Bike. This is now being rolled out to Cardiff. If you want to go on an electric bike, I'd highly recommend it. I use an e-bike myself to travel to work. They're really great, and they're great for all levels of cyclist, whether you're just the average round town commuter, or you're doing a much longer journey. It really does just flatten out that ride and enables you to cycle a bit longer. Last year, Transport for Wales was one of 103 organisations to take part in Mind Cymru's second annual Workplace Wellbeing Index benchmark, and we were awarded a Silver Award, which was fantastic. We're also working closely with Welsh Government on their Healthy Weight, Healthy Wales strategy, and this is to help prevent and reduce obesity in Wales. So we've been making some changes to our catering menu, and this has included things like removing bottled drinks, bottled fizzy drinks with high sugar content for low sugar content. And we've also been introducing cans instead of bottles, so reducing the size of the products that we offer. We've also created healthy menus, and we're looking at our offer for children as well. As part of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Project, we've worked proactively with partner organisations to create interactive materials to educate children and young people on rail safety. We have areas in Wales where there's trespass on the lines, unfortunately, and this is extremely dangerous. So this is a really important campaign. Under a more equal Wales, we're providing access to safe, affordable, accessible, sustainable transport systems for all, improving road safety and expanding public transport, and paying special attention to the needs of disadvantaged people. We're providing work opportunities and training and identifying skill gaps and offering apprenticeships and training. We also now have our graduate academy, this currently open in graduate scheme, this currently open for application. We respect the fundamental rights and cultural diversity, and we promote mental and physical well-being. So this year we've developed a facilitated visits programme to increase confidence in using public transport to vulnerable groups. We set up our Equality, Diversity and Inclusion group, and we launched our Equality, Diversity and Inclusion strategy, and we've been embedding this into our policies and also into our recruitment processes. To mark International Pronouns Day, we launched our pronoun initiative, and now many members of the team have their pronouns on their email. We celebrated Black History Month this year, interviewing Percival Hannaford, who worked on the railway for 31 years. And in December, we took part in the Purple Light Up campaign and lit our new headquarters up in purple, representing Wales in a 24-hour global broadcast celebrating disability inclusion. To recognise those who serve in the armed forces, we also now support a new Veterans Rail Card. Under a Wales of cohesive communities, we use our stations to connect people to information, local events and to other events in Wales, and engage with local communities to ensure their interests are at the heart of our decision making. We offer a more integrated transport network with better connectivity between stations and communities. And to do this, we've launched Flexi, the new bus service in 6 local authorities across Wales. We've encouraged our staff to volunteer at stations to manage the experience of customers during the period. We started installing new ticket machines across the network, and we've been working with 5 local authorities to identify key active travel routes. To support NHS workers as they fought the virus, we offered free rail travel to all NHS staff from March through to the end of May 2020. And as I mentioned earlier, our project team joined forces with Alan Griffiths Construction and Taftswell Allotments Association to clean up and renovate the Taftswell allotments. Under a Wales of cohesive communities, we use our stations to connect people to information, local events and other events in Wales, and engage with local communities to make sure they're interested at the heart of our decision making. Hopefully you've seen great examples of this in the work that Louise has presented to you. We're also trying to integrate transport much better with better connectivity between stations and communities. So we've delivered phase 1 of our social and commercial development programme. And in 2020, Chirk Station won the National Rail Awards for the best small station in Britain. It really is a fantastic station. If you go and visit there, they grow runner beans on the platform in the summer, and they have bees too. We launched a new community rail partnership for South West Wales region, designed to get more communities to get the most benefit from the rail services. And the Good Neighbour project worked with local community groups to facilitate and develop community gardens and provide regular information and updates to communities along the Core Valley lines as we start our work to electrify the Core Valleys lines for the new trains. Under a Wales of thriving, vibrant culture and thriving Welsh language, we're promoting Wales's language and culture by engaging with the Arts Council of Wales, Visit Wales, Cadw and other third parties to promote art, culture, heritage and the Welsh language. We also promote art, culture and heritage at the other areas we serve along the cross borders. This year we partnered with Career Wales to deliver interactive bilingual workshops to schools. We also changed our branding at some of our train stations. You can see Swansea Station just on the bottom left there. We also celebrated Shwmae Day. In collaboration with our contractors and partners, we teamed up with Learn Welsh Cymru to give everyone the opportunity and support they need to learn Welsh. And finally, under a globally responsible Wales, we're limiting our environmental and global impact and limiting our impacts on communities overseas through responsible procurement. We'll comply with international biodiversity regulations and we're lowering our carbon footprint. So in support of the Welsh Government's second local carbon delivery plan, which is due to be published in November, we've procured consultancy support for Welsh Government to help them develop their action plans. As part of our asset management duties, we've created a strategic asset management plan. This relates directly to the impacts that climate change will have on our infrastructure. Our carbon footprint reduced by over 10%. Now, much of this was due to the change in service and operations due to the pandemic, but we'd already reduced our emissions by 7% and 5% in previous years. And we hope that the work that we're doing now to improve the trains and to electrify will see us reducing our carbon footprint by a lot more. Over the past year, we've celebrated several campaigns and events to raise awareness among staff about being globally responsible and aware, and we're pleased to support initiatives such as Fair Trade Fortnight. And that's the end of our presentation, and I hope that you've seen throughout that there are many ways to get involved in sustainable development, whether you're looking to make a move into sustainability or whether you want to undertake sustainability in your own role. There are loads of opportunities to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie and Louise. Very interesting and insightful presentation. We have a couple of questions. So one from Matthew. Are there any further plans for the conversion of more old rail right-of-ways in the valleys into active travel routes?
So we work very closely with Sustrans. We have an SLA in place with them, their service level agreement, and you know, it's definitely an area that we could look at in the future in terms of increasing the active travel routes. It's certainly something that they've undertaken already in areas such as Swansea, where in Pontypridd they've been looking at an old railway connection to Gowerton, which would significantly decrease the time the journey would take, for example, if they were to do it by train. So yeah, there's always lots of opportunity to undertake work like that. It's very valuable.
Okay, brilliant. So do you think that there's a future for the reinstatement of closed railway lines in Wales? So the railway lines that were closed under the Beaching Act?
Yeah, there's been rumblings about some of the lines in the core valleys, connecting some of the core valleys communities. Personally, it's not an area that I'm involved in currently, but I think Treorchy, for example, is one area that's been looked at the moment. So I think there's opportunity to look at the industry and the economic benefits that could be created if older lines were opened, and the introduction of new train stations such as the station at Bow Street have just brought about such great benefits for local communities.
Cool, thank you. Another one from, so we've got one from Marek. Can you recharge your electric bike on a train? If so, how many bikes? It's a long one. So if so, how many bikes can be recharged simultaneously? Or if not, how difficult do you think it would be to modify your current rolling stock, and how quickly could you do it?
So as far as I'm aware at the moment, I'm not going to say you can't recharge your bike on a train, because we do actually have sockets, but I am going to go back and check, because now I'm absolutely fascinated. That's a brilliant question, and yeah, I look forward to putting it to our active travel manager, and I'll share the response with you if that's okay. Yeah, we do have sockets on the train. There is electrical access there, so whether it's powerful enough to charge those bikes. The bike that I have, for example, does an 80-mile range, so I usually only have to charge it once every 3 or 4 days if I'm using it daily. So I'm quite lucky to have access to bike charging at work if I need it. But yeah, the bikes now will have a much longer range than some of the older models. Brilliant question. Okay. Love it.
I know, it's a brilliant one. So we've got a couple from Fiona. Firstly, will the slides be shared? Yes, they will. Well, we'll have a recording that will be on the YRP website probably later this week or sort of next week. And then her question to do with presentation. So do you think that Wales will follow London's approach with the ultra low emission zone, which is actually expanding this month?
So Welsh Government or the local authority in Cardiff have always been quite opposed to the approach to sort of charge people to enter into Cardiff, for example. And this is because, you know, they don't want to discourage people from travelling into the valleys to sort of pay for working in Cardiff when generally they're sort of more disadvantaged communities. So I can understand the rationale behind why you know, you wouldn't want to sort of charge people for moving around currently. I think I just saw today that large parts of, is it Birmingham, I think, are going to be closed off to vehicles, which I think is a brilliant approach. And you know, we've all seen the work probably that Paris have been doing to reduce the number of vehicles that are in their city centre over the pandemic. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to look at how we design out cars as opposed to charging car drivers.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Another one from Fiona. What are TFW doing to prevent unauthorised persons trackside?
Oh, that's a good question. It's not an area I'm very involved in. So we, on the Core Valley lines where we're electrifying, there's obviously a much greater risk to people, to life, because of the overhead electrification. So what we have been doing is at the moment we're removing vegetation to both make the railway track safe, but also to install the overhead equipment and the gantries. So the piling is taking place, but this obviously then opens up the railway. We have barriers in place at the moment, but in the future what we've been looking at is, as well as fencing, we're looking at how we can introduce sort of dense hedging that'll put people off trying to access the railway, but will also prevent landslips and prevent the regrowth of invasive species.
And also
Okay.
just to add to that as well, our community engagement teams do a lot of work in the community at local schools, for kind of raising awareness about safety around the tracks, and especially with the changes that are happening. So that there's kind of that two-pronged approach to it, the practical as well as kind of the work in the community and raising awareness as well, which is really important.
Oh yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's really important as well in this day and age. And then we have another question. Well, we have a question from Samuel. Do you have any initiatives specifically looking at combating noise or water pollution?
So in terms of noise pollution, as I mentioned, you know, we are looking at the technology that we're using and trying to reduce noise from, and it's not just the trains, it's the work that takes place. And we work under Section 61 notices from the local authority to make sure that our noise is compliant. We've done a lot of engagement with the communities around the Core Valley lines work, because, you know, generally that takes place overnight. It is very noisy, and a lot of it has been chainsaws all evening, which is, you know, obviously involved us just going back and making sure that people understand why the work is taking place, and hopefully creating some understanding. But again, you know, trying to limit that through working practices. And then through water pollution, so we have our ecologist in place, and we're looking to improve the environmental compliance works or resource that we have in the team. We are aware that, you know, things do happen. You know, there's the odd oil spill, and we work closely with Network Rail and with partner organisations such as Natural Resources Wales to ensure that any spillages are recorded and cleaned up as quickly as possible, so that they don't prevent any damage to local watercourses.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I think that's all the questions we have at the minute. So thanks to Natalie and Louise for attending, or for presenting, and thank you all for attending. I hope you found it all informative. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you at some of our future YRP events. And we also have our first YRP Wales social on the 15th of October in Cardiff, and you can sign up on our website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.